City University, where our specialty is non-politically correct studies. Special guest joining us this afternoon to talk about the upcoming midterms. Welcome to the program, Alexandra Smith, former chairwoman of the College Republican National Committee. In fact, Alex, unless I'm mistaken, was the first female elected chair in the organization's 125-year history. Last year, she was named as a co-recipient of the American Israel Public Affairs Committee Ally of the Year. And in 2014, she was designated as an RNC Rising Star, which I'm sure, Alex, makes you a favorite of CNN and BSNBC.
It certainly doesn't earn me a Christmas card.
Yes. Yeah, we can forget about the Christmas list. Great to have you along. Alex also featured on Red Alert Politics' 30 Under 30 list of up-and-coming young conservative leaders. I am always re-energized and enthused, Alex, when I talk to people who are substantially younger than myself, who still avow conservative principles, because it gives me hope for the future.
Well, that's kind of you to say. And look, I think that if you look at this generation, their behavior suggests that they're capitalists, right?
Yes.
You know, I mean, this is the most pro-freedom generation that we've had in decades. Everything that works in their life works because it's organic, it doesn't come from government, and it's self-directed. But, you know, where we lose is the messaging war.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, ultimately we need to make sure that the failures of socialism are known to this generation. You know, and this generation, of course, doesn't have many reasons to know those failures because they're so far removed from them.
Exactly.
So really, it's incumbent upon us to keep educating.
Yeah, you're right in my zip code with that, Alex, because I've been a big proponent for years and have talked until I'm blue in the face about the necessity for conservatives to not allow the progressive left to set the agenda and consistently rock conservatives back on their heels playing defense. We've got a great story to tell.
We do. And, you know, one of my criticisms of Republicans that too often we expect voters, you know, not just young voters, but other voters that might not have considered the Republican Party in the past. Mm-hmm. We ask them to come to us to explain to them why they should be Republicans.
Yeah.
Instead, we need to be going out to them and explaining that story.
Yeah, I would agree. Being proactive certainly is going to pay more dividends for us down the road. There's a new Morning Consult poll, Alex. Democrats that are up for re-election in states that the president won by double digits top the list of least popular senators. Claire McCaskill is underwater. Florida Senator Bill Nelson has seen a 12-point slide. What do you see going forward here? If you listen to the media, and we know the mantra that they're going to keep spewing between now and the first week in November, the big blue wave is coming. I can't convince myself that's what's really out there.
Well, so I think that the media has actually they have sort of moderated their stance in the wake of the Kavanaugh hearings. I think before they were sort of talking about this generic blue wave that was coming for the country, and it was totally unstoppable. And by the way, the Senate map was always tough for Democrats. So talk of a blue wave, I think, was always premature when it came to the Senate. And I think the Kavanaugh hearings really ripped that Band-Aid off hard for Democrats and for the media because, you know, that was just such a cultural, visceral fight that re-energized conservatives and put the spotlight on these Democrats who were casting crucial votes in this fight. So if you're Joe Donnelly, if you're Claire McCaskill or Bill Nelson, you have to go back to your constituents and explain why, not just why you voted against the president's Supreme Court nominee, but why you don't believe anymore in America that we give people the presumption of innocence until found guilty. That is the heart of the matter here. You know, I think that that's really what was driving people was this idea that we were going to upend this American norm that has been out there, and it truly makes us distinct and special compared to other legal systems in the world. So, I think that these senators, they were always in danger. I think that the Kavanaugh hearings put them further underwater. So now when we talk about a blue wave, we are talking about vulnerabilities in the House. That is an honest assessment of where we are, but it's an honest assessment of where we are. No matter who is in the White House, the party in power in the White House is always in danger of losing seats in the midterm elections. It's just how it goes.
Yeah, historically that has been the case. There have been rare exceptions. I think 1964, but that was an era of tumult as well following the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I think 1934, if you want to go back that far, with FDR. But the point you made, Alex, I think is one that we need to really stress, and that is we faced, during the Kavanaugh hearings, a stark decision whether we were going to be a nation that is ruled by laws or whether we're going to be ruled by the mob. And thank God, Susan Collins, who I have not been a big proponent of because she's a little too moderate for my taste, but holy cow, she gave one whale of a speech from the well of the Senate and I think turned the entire thing around.
I completely agree. I was, someone said earlier this week, they pointed out that speech was 45 minutes long. And I was struck by that because of how it did not seem that way to me, because I was hanging on to every single word. Mm-hmm. And I think that she just so eloquently outlined the case for Brett Kavanaugh and against mob rule. I mean, I saw that there was some, derisive, mocking on Twitter from some journalists saying, "Oh, are we going to really go through every single one of Judge Kavanaugh's decisions here?" And I was thinking to myself, well, yes, this is the appropriate analysis of a Supreme Court nominee, is to review his or her judicial opinions and writings.
Exactly.
And so she started with that, and then I think she showed a lot of empathy and a lot of proper concern for Dr. Ford. But where her analysis, I think, was spot on, was saying, these are two compelling stories that we have here, but the fact that we don't have contemporaneous corroborating evidence of Dr. Ford's claims means that the balance tips in favor of Brett Kavanaugh. And that is the appropriate way to weigh this decision. And that's not, the easiest thing to talk about, because there's obviously a lot of emotions in this decision.
Sure.
But as she said, it's when passions are most inflamed that fairness is most in jeopardy.
Yeah.
And I really hung on to that line because it is just so true in this situation in particular.
We've got a number of younger people that listen to this program, and I'm sure will be influenced by America Rising. For folks that are not familiar with America Rising, can you talk for a minute about that and what you do?
Sure. So America Rising is the GOP's premier opposition research organization. We watch the Democrats all day, so you don't have to.
Thank God.
We are cataloging all of their statements. We have our nationwide team of trackers that follows them around the country to get their opinions on the various matters of the day. And right now, I think they're really getting their steps in because they are running from these trackers at this point in the cycle.
Yeah, and when somebody like Mr. Bredesen in Tennessee talks about Kavanaugh, you guys are there to catch him on it.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's, the Democrats right now, I think, they have been playing this middle line for the last couple of months. And, when people were sort of checked out with the midterms and not really paying attention, but we were all sort of tuned into it. I know you were at America Rising. We were watching all of their statements. It was difficult to see how the middle could hold here.
Right.
How could they appease? How could Phil Bredesen go fundraise in New York City with Michael Bloomberg and then go to Tennessee and talk about, Second Amendment values in Tennessee? We knew that this was going to start unraveling at some point, and it's nice to see that the hypocrisy is being exposed now.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and we appreciate the work that you do on behalf of tracking the virulent hypocrisy we see on a daily basis from the progressives. Alex Wilkes from America Rising. Alex, pleasure talking to you today. Thanks for what you do.
Thanks so much for having me on. Anytime.
My pleasure. Good to have you here. I hope you have a good evening.
You too.
17 after 5 here in the Bobby Mack Show. Take a quick break here. We go right back to the phones for more of your calls, and you will hear what Kanye West had to say about the president in the Oval Office today. That's next.